So recently we got the new solo raid boss, which is basically blacksmith but white. It is also rumored that we will be getting another blacksmith boss for the next season, but this time he's Mexican. I would refer to the new solo raid boss by its official name, but for some reason, one of the NIKKE devs decided to name this boss after their passcode, so I'm not even going to bother and just call it Whitesmith. Initially, I was planning to make a full-on guide about this boss, but honestly, this boss fight is actually so simple that even a Genshin player can beat it.
It might end up creating excessive anxiety.
I also know that you probably have fought Blacksmith 1,000 times, so this fight is very familiar, and you don't really need me to tell you that a fire-type NIKKE is going to be really good against a boss that is weak to fire. I'm also not gonna sit here and be like, guys, a character that has AoE that can hit multiple boss parts will be really good against Whitesmith, a boss that has multiple parts, and then I'll just start no-waying like a crazy person. But with all seriousness, this new solo raid season is really on the easier side. But if you are a beginner player, or maybe you're just looking for some advice to increase your damage even further, I will be talking about a few things to hopefully help you in this fight. To start things off, let's talk about a few things that you need to do before you even start the boss fight. Number 1, you have to make sure that you have all of your cubes and equipment ready to go. This is also something that I need to remind myself sometimes, especially when I'm switching to a different team. Some characters might end up not having the best cube on them when I start the fight because I sometimes rush to switch to a different team and immediately start the fight. So always make sure to double check and see if you have the right harmony cubes on your units. And as a bonus tip, if you are still unsure about what harmony cube goes to which character, you can check out this website nikke.gg to find a list of all the cubes for each of the characters in the game. And for those players who are still in the early to mid game, you probably share equipment between different characters, so always make sure that you have your best ones equipped on the characters in your active team. Next up, I recommend turning down your graphics settings, whether you are playing on mobile or even PC. Of course, if you have insanely high specs, then this shouldn't really matter, but if not, then definitely try this out. Some of you might be asking, why should I turn down my settings? Does it really help with my damage? Well, no, but also kind of yes. Lower graphics settings is not going to directly impact your damage like how it did in the past. Because back when the PC client just got released, there was a big difference in damage between mobile and PC. But this issue was quickly addressed, so that is no longer a thing. But the reason why you would want to lower your settings is because of charge type weapons. When you are spamming your attacks in characters like Alice or Laplace, having a stable frame rate and just overall fluid gameplay is going to help you time your charge attacks better. For me, when I'm playing on the highest graphics settings, maybe I have another game running on my second monitor, and maybe I might even have a live stream open. Then in that case, I do experience quite a bit of lag. It can mess up my charge attacks because either I let go too early, therefore cancelling the attack, or sometimes I also charge my attack for way too long. There is also a bit of lag when you are mashing the burst icons, so turning down your graphics settings, even just turning off the in-game effects can really help. I tried out 2 different settings where I have my graphics set to the highest option, and I also tried one where I disabled all of the effects. Earlier, I said that lower settings doesn't directly affect your damage, but there was actually a pretty sizable difference between my runs. Of course, it could be because of multiple variables like critical chance, but I think I was doing more damage on lower settings because I can spam my attacks better when the game is running smoother. Moving on, let's talk about the actual fight. Like what I mentioned before, fire, good. Damage to enemy parts, also good. So if a character has both, they're garbage. Of course they're really good. But going on a bit of a tangent, I've actually been lurking around the NIKKE subreddit. And honestly, I was actually surprised to see that a ton of people are baffled about how much damage A2 is doing against this boss. Being amazed by how much damage a character is doing is fine, but some people are straight up smoking that Mexican alien pack. They are doing everything they can to justify tearing down Pridewin's tier list just to put A2 at the very top over Scarlet. I know that this is making me sound like your average Jingyo 1 main after someone calls Jingyo 1 mid, but I can assure you that I'm not defending Scarlet in that way. I have 94 characters and I don't even have Scarlet, nor do I think I'll get her anytime soon. So I have no attachment to this character whatsoever. Plus her hentai is mid. But my point is, yes, A2 is better for this specific boss fight, not because A2 is overall better than Scarlet, but only because Whitesmith is tailored towards A2. She has elemental advantage, she is doing more damage to the boss parts, and she completely gets rid of projectiles. It's basically the same thing that Genshin does every time they release a new banner. For example, when they release a Kokomi banner, the stages in the Spiral Abyss suddenly have enemies that apply corrosion. And so now you have to pull for Kokomi to make your life easier. But moving on to my actual advice, so pretty much all you have to focus on is breaking the boss parts on Whitesmith. Breaking one boss part is going to deal around 50 million damage, so you absolutely need to break as many as you can. In addition to the additional damage that you're doing, being able to break the rifles, or basically the 2 turrets at the bottom, will give you an easier time in this fight because those are the ones that are dealing the most damage to your team. Every other attack can be intercepted or just very weak, so the turrets are the main focus. And one last tip is that you should try to spread out your boss part breaking characters. Not many characters can deal a ton of damage to the boss parts, so having at least one that is good in each one of your teams can be very useful. This will also depend on how much you invested on each one of them, but in general, you should be fine with having 1 or 2 characters that can break boss parts easily. So yeah, that is pretty much everything I have for the new solo raid boss in NIKKE. As I said earlier in this video, this new solo raid boss is very simple, so you won't really have a hard time understanding the mechanics and what you need to do when going up against this boss. With that being said, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, definitely make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.